My dear brothers and sisters, today I want to speak to your heart the way the Holy Spirit speaks gently to a weary soul. There are moments in life when our minds become troubled, when our thoughts begin to race, and when our hearts become restless. We look at our circumstances and we wonder, Lord, when? Lord, how? Will it ever happen for me? But today, God is whispering one simple message to you: relax. What is meant for you is already on its way. You see, we often confuse waiting with worrying. We think waiting means that God has forgotten us, or that our prayers have been lost somewhere between earth and heaven. But when God tells you to relax, He is not telling you to be passive. He is telling you to trust. Trust is the highest form of worship. Trust is faith matured. Trust is the place where fear loses its power and peace takes over. Trusting God's timing is one of the deepest spiritual disciplines a believer can learn, because it requires surrendering the desire to control outcomes and embracing the truth that heaven is already arranging what your eyes cannot yet see. When God says your blessing is in motion, it means there is activity in the unseen realm far beyond human perception. You may feel stuck today, but in the spiritual realm, nothing is stuck. You may feel like your prayers are unanswered, but in the spiritual realm, your prayers have already set things into motion. God's timing is never late, never early, and never confused. It is precise, like divine architecture, where every detail is measured, every moment is intentional, and every delay is filled with purpose. Trusting this timing means choosing peace over panic, choosing faith over frustration, and choosing surrender over striving. Often, the reason we struggle with God's timing is that our human perspective is limited. We see only the immediate moment, the present discomfort, the present waiting. But God sees the entire landscape of your life at once. He sees the future you cannot see. He knows the relationships that need to shift, the opportunities that need to open, and the inner growth that needs to take place before the blessing arrives. When He says that your blessing is already in motion, He means that the right people are being positioned, the right pathways are being shaped, and the right doors are being prepared for you. Just because you cannot trace His hand does not mean He is not working. Many of God's greatest works are done in silence, in shadows, and in seasons where nothing appears to be happening. Trusting God's timing also requires letting go of comparison. When you see others moving ahead, receiving breakthroughs, getting opportunities, or stepping into the very things you're praying for, it is easy to feel overlooked or forgotten. But God prepares individual timelines, not group schedules. What belongs to you will never go to someone else. What is meant for your life will not be mistakenly delivered to another person. Your blessing has its own appointed hour, its own season, and its own spiritual momentum that cannot be disrupted by another person's success. Comparing yourself to others only steals your peace and blinds you to the subtle ways God is already preparing your miracle. There is also a spiritual rhythm to God's timing. Sometimes He moves suddenly with breakthroughs that arrive without warning. Other times He moves gradually, shaping your character, stretching your faith, and teaching you patience. Both patterns are part of His divine strategy. God is not merely preparing a blessing for you, He is preparing you for the blessing. If you receive it too soon, the weight of it could overwhelm you. If you receive it too early, you may not have the maturity or wisdom to sustain it. Trusting His timing means believing that when the blessing arrives, it will not be fragile, temporary, or unstable. It will be solid, lasting, and aligned perfectly with your destiny. When God says your blessing is already in motion, it means heaven's resources are active on your behalf. Angels are moving. Paths are being cleared. Battles are being fought without your awareness. Obstacles are being removed before you even reach them. People who once stood against you are being shifted out of your way. People who will stand with you are being drawn into your life. Situations that once seemed immovable are being softened by the hand of God. Trust invites you to rest, to breathe, and to walk with confidence even when you cannot see the full picture. Trust invites you to believe that every moment is part of the journey toward what God has already planned for you. Waiting is one of the most misunderstood seasons in a believer's life because human nature naturally interprets silence as distance and delay as denial. When your prayers seem unanswered and circumstances remain unchanged, the heart begins to question whether God has turned away or forgotten the request you brought before Him. Yet the truth is the opposite. Waiting is not abandonment. Waiting is one of God's most intentional tools of preparation. In the moments when you feel least attended to, heaven is doing its most delicate work. God is never passive, never distant, and never indifferent. His silence is often the quiet space where He shapes you, strengthens you, and aligns your path with what you are asking for. There are blessings that require time to mature. Just as fruit cannot ripen before its season without becoming spoiled, some breakthroughs cannot arrive before the right moment without losing their intended impact. When God keeps you in a waiting season, it is not because He wants to frustrate you. It is because He is preparing something that must be complete, stable, and strong before it enters your life. You may not see it happening, but spiritual preparation is always more important than visible progress. God looks ahead into your future, sees challenges you do not know exist, sees responsibilities you have not imagined, and ensures that when the blessing arrives, you will have the inner foundation to handle it. Waiting is also the place where faith is purified. When you cannot see movement, your trust is tested. When nothing changes, your dependence on God becomes clearer. When your heart cries for urgency, but heaven responds with stillness, your motives are refined. In these moments, God teaches you whether you trust Him for who He is or only for what He gives. He teaches you whether your faith is rooted in His character or merely in His timing. The waiting season is sacred because it separates genuine faith from emotional expectation. It stretches you, molds you, and transforms you into a vessel capable of carrying greater blessings with maturity and humility. Many people misunderstand God's silence and begin to assume that He has withdrawn His hand. But waiting is often the season in which God is closest. He is repositioning things around you, redirecting paths that would harm you, and shielding you from opportunities that look good but are not aligned with your purpose. Some doors must remain closed because they lead to distraction. Some relationships must fade because they cannot travel with you into the next season. Some opportunities must pause because your spirit is not yet settled enough to discern what is right. If God allowed everything to come to you instantly, you would mistake convenience for calling. But by making you wait, He ensures that the blessing you receive becomes a testimony and not a burden. In waiting, God also trains your spiritual senses. He teaches you patience, sensitivity to His voice, and endurance in prayer. These qualities cannot be learned in seasons of constant breakthrough. They are born in the quiet, slow, unseen moments where you must choose to believe even when there is nothing tangible to hold. Your spirit becomes sharper. Your discernment becomes clearer. Your dependence on Him becomes deeper. What feels like inactivity is actually divine investment in your growth. Waiting is not a wall but a workshop. It is the place where God shapes the person you must become before the blessing arrives. The longer the wait, the more tailored the blessing. The deeper the silence, the greater the preparation. And the more stretched your faith, the more powerful the manifestation when God finally moves. Waiting is one of the most uncomfortable places for the human heart because everything in us longs for movement, answers, and visible progress. When heaven becomes quiet and life seems to hold its breath, the mind begins to question, the emotions begin to tighten, and the spirit begins to wonder if God has stepped away. But waiting is not a sign that God has withdrawn. Waiting is not punishment, nor is it neglect. Waiting is one of God's most intentional seasons, where He prepares what you cannot yet handle and shapes you into who you must become. In the unseen realm, waiting is not inactivity, it is divine preparation, alignment, and orchestration. When God causes you to wait, it means something greater is being formed beneath the surface. It means conditions that you cannot see are being adjusted, timing that you cannot predict is being perfected, and steps of your future path are being arranged with precision. Sometimes you are waiting not because the blessing is delayed, but because God is still stabilizing the foundation on which that blessing will stand. If He gives you what you are praying for too soon, you might mishandle it, misunderstand it, or underestimate its purpose. God's waiting seasons are protective. They shield you from premature breakthroughs that would collapse under pressure. They guard you from opportunities that look like blessings, but carry hidden consequences you are not yet prepared to bear. Waiting is also where your faith deepens. In the absence of answers, you learn to trust God's heart. In the absence of signs, you learn to trust His will. In the absence of movement, you learn to trust His timing. Real faith is not tested when prayers are answered quickly. It is tested when nothing seems to shift, and yet you continue to believe. The quiet seasons of God teach you how to stand, how to pray with persistence, and how to anchor your hope in something greater than visible evidence. It is in waiting that the roots of your faith stretch deeper, forming the spiritual strength you will need for the blessings ahead. Many times, God uses waiting to remove the things that cannot go with you into the next season. There are relationships that must loosen their grip, habits that must break, patterns that must dissolve, and desires that must mature. God sees what you cannot. He knows the versions of you that still need healing, the insecurities that still need addressing, and the spiritual muscles that still need strengthening. If He accelerated the process, parts of you that were not yet transformed might sabotage the very blessing He is preparing. So He waits with you, shaping you silently, adjusting you internally, maturing you gradually. Waiting also reveals what your heart truly values. When the thing you want does not come immediately, your priorities become clearer. You begin to see whether you are seeking God or simply seeking results. You become aware of whether you are pursuing His presence or only His promises. God uses waiting to refine motives, purify intentions, and deepen the quality of your relationship with Him. It shifts your focus from, God, give me this, to, God, make me ready for whatever you give. That shift alone is one of the greatest transformations any believer can experience. Even when you feel still, God is moving things on your behalf. He is softening the hearts of people you will meet in the coming season. He is opening doors that are currently invisible to you. He is redirecting what could have harmed you, slowing what could have overwhelmed you, and accelerating what could bless you. Waiting is not the absence of progress. It is progress happening in a dimension you cannot see. In heaven's timeline, everything is unfolding with exact purpose and perfect timing. What is meant for you carries a divine signature that cannot be erased, redirected, stolen, or blocked by any force, human or spiritual. When something has been written into your destiny by the hand of God, it becomes untouchable. You may encounter delays, detours, or disappointments, but none of them have the power to cancel what heaven has ordained. This truth becomes a foundation of peace when your life feels uncertain, or when circumstances seem to contradict the promise you're holding. The world around you may shift, people may change, opportunities may rise and fall, but what is meant for you remains anchored in the eternal plans of God. It cannot be intercepted by the enemy, and it cannot be destroyed by the failures of the past. When God sets something aside for you, He protects it with the same care with which He protects you. Often, the obstacles you face are not signs that your blessing is gone, but signs that your blessing is valuable. A thief never breaks into an empty house. The enemy attacks what carries divine potential. He tries to wear you down with discouragement or cloud your vision with fear. But even when he tries, he cannot touch what has been sealed by God. What is assigned to your life travels with a spiritual covering, a hedge that surrounds not only you but the promise itself. You may worry that someone could take your opportunity, step into your place, or move ahead of you, but the kingdom of God does not operate on competition. Your calling is uniquely designed for you. Your breakthrough is uniquely crafted for you. Your purpose is uniquely shaped for you. No one else can occupy what was created for your spirit. There are moments when you may see others receiving what you long for, and the heart begins to fear that you have been overlooked. But God's blessings are not limited resources. He is not distributing opportunities on a first-come, first-served basis. Your portion has already been marked, and it will reach you in the precise way and at the precise time it is meant to. Someone else stepping into their season does not delay yours. Someone else being blessed does not diminish what is being prepared for you. The timing of others has nothing to do with the timing of your own destiny. God orchestrates each life with intentionality, ensuring that what is yours never becomes tangled with what belongs to someone else. Even closed doors cannot cancel what is meant for you. Sometimes a door closes not because the blessing is denied, but because God wants to redirect you to a door that leads to the fullness of your destiny, not just a fraction of it. Closed doors protect you. They position you. They reroute you. They keep you from settling in places that would not sustain your calling. And even when a door seems permanently shut, if it is meant for you, God will open it in a way that leaves no doubt it was His hand that moved. What is yours may take longer than you expected, but delay does not change ownership. The promise still carries your name. People may also try to limit you, underestimate you, or even oppose you, but human resistance cannot stop divine intention. Someone may hold a position you desire, but if that place is meant for you, God can shift circumstances overnight. Someone may try to discredit you, but if the blessing is meant to enter your life, their words hold no authority compared to God's decree. Someone may walk away, but their departure cannot derail what heaven has destined. God ensures that no person becomes powerful enough to block His plan for you. He may rearrange relationships, remove obstacles, or change environments, but the promise remains secure. What is meant for you has a spiritual magnetism. It is drawn to you, and you are drawn to it. It may pass through seasons of preparation, but it will not pass you by. It may move slowly, but it will not miss its destination. It may develop quietly, but it will arrive with unmistakable clarity. Nothing in creation has the authority to disconnect you from what God has authored for your life. Relaxing in God is not a posture of laziness or disengagement. It is the evidence of a mature faith that has learned to rest in the certainty of His character rather than the instability of circumstances. When God calls you to relax, He is inviting you into a deeper level of trust, a place where your spirit is no longer shaken by delays, detours, or disappointments. This kind of relaxation is not physical but spiritual. It is the calmness that flows from knowing that God is sovereign, that He is in control, and that nothing concerning your life is unfolding outside His wisdom. To relax in God is to release the burden you were never meant to carry, and to embrace the truth that He is working in ways that are higher, greater, and far more precise than anything you could orchestrate on your own. There is a peace that only comes when you surrender your timeline and expectations into God's hands. Many people say they trust God, yet their hearts remain restless because they are still trying to manage outcomes. They pray, but they also worry. They believe, but they also fear. They hope, but they also overthink. True relaxation in God is when you stop trying to force things into place and instead allow God to bring the right things into your life at the right time. It is a spiritual shift from striving to surrender, from panic to peace, from control to confidence. You no longer carry the weight of figuring out how everything will unfold, because you know the one who already has it planned. Relaxing in God also requires releasing the tension that builds when life does not match your expectations. Sometimes you expect a door to open quickly, but God keeps it closed longer than you wished. Sometimes you expect people to stay, but God allows them to leave because their presence would limit your growth. Sometimes you expect a promise to manifest instantly, but God takes you through a season of stretching and shaping before fulfilling it. These moments create internal pressure, but when you learn to relax in God, that pressure becomes an opportunity for deeper faith instead of deeper anxiety. You begin to understand that God's delays are not His denials and that His silence is not His absence. Relaxation is trusting that if something hasn't happened yet, there is divine purpose behind the waiting. When you choose to relax in God, you also protect your spirit from the emotional exhaustion that comes from constantly trying to control situations that only God can resolve. Anxiety drains energy that faith restores. Worry keeps you in yesterday and fear pushes you into tomorrow. But relaxation anchors you in God's presence today. It gives you the strength to keep moving without being overwhelmed, to keep believing without becoming discouraged, and to keep hoping without becoming weary. This spiritual rest becomes the atmosphere where God can speak clearly, guide gently, and lead you into the next season with confidence instead of confusion. Relaxing in God also strengthens your spiritual discernment. When your heart is restless, it is difficult to hear God clearly because worry creates noise in the spirit. Rest, however, creates stillness, and in stillness God speaks with clarity. Many breakthroughs are missed not because God didn't provide guidance, but because the heart was too anxious to perceive it. When you relax into God's timing, His voice becomes clearer and His direction becomes easier to recognize. You no longer chase after every opportunity. You learn to recognize the ones that carry His anointing. This kind of relaxation is also a declaration of faith. It is saying with your actions, I trust God enough to stop striving. It is acknowledging that you are not alone, not forgotten, and not abandoned. It is understanding that God's plans are always better than your pressure, His timing always wiser than your urgency, and His ways always higher than your expectations. When you relax in God, you open the door for Him to move freely, powerfully, and beautifully in your life. Relaxing in God is a spiritual discipline that reflects a heart anchored, not in circumstances, but in divine certainty. It is not a sign of weakness, passivity, or indifference. It is a profound expression of trust that grows only in those who choose faith over fear. When God calls you to relax, He is inviting you to step out of the chaos of human effort and into the quiet assurance of His sovereignty. This kind of relaxation is not about doing nothing. It is about letting go of everything that was never meant to be carried by your limited strength. It is the stillness of a soul that believes God is working even when the evidence is invisible. It is the inner calm of knowing that the one who formed the universe is also shaping every detail of your life with intention, precision, and love. Relaxing in God requires releasing the urge to control outcomes. Human nature wants clarity, predictability, and immediate results. We often want God to show us the entire plan before we take the first step, but God rarely reveals the full picture, because faith is formed in the spaces where you must trust Him without full understanding. When you relax in Him, you surrender the pressure of trying to make things happen on your own. You stop manipulating circumstances, forcing doors, or worrying about timing. You choose peace instead of panic. You choose assurance instead of anxiety. You choose to breathe deeply and believe that what God has promised is not dependent on your effort, but on His faithfulness. Relaxing in God is also recognizing that your life is not governed by accidents or coincidences. Every shift, every delay, every open door, and every closed one is part of a divine orchestration that is shaping you for something greater. When things don't happen the way you expected, instead of spiraling into frustration, relaxing means trusting that God allowed it for a reason. It means believing that He sees what you cannot and He protects you from what would harm you. Many times, the things that disappoint you are actually the things that save you. Many times, the detours are divine protections and the pauses are divine preparations. Relaxation comes when you accept that God's understanding is limitless and your perspective is limited. Relaxing in God also brings emotional freedom. Worry is heavy, fear is draining, overthinking is exhausting. The more you try to figure out everything on your own, the more weighed down your spirit becomes. But when you choose to relax in God, a supernatural peace fills the spaces where anxiety once lived. It is the peace that allows you to sleep even when the future is uncertain. It is the peace that allows you to smile even when challenges remain. It is the peace that whispers to your heart, you don't have to know how. It is enough that God knows. In this place of rest, you recover strength, clarity, and spiritual confidence. Relaxation in God also opens your spirit to hear His voice more clearly. A restless heart cannot discern divine direction because anxiety creates noise that drowns out God's whisper. But a rested heart becomes sensitive, receptive, and attentive. God often speaks in gentle impressions, quiet nudges, and soft guidance, and only a relaxed spirit can recognize these signals. When you slow down internally, you begin to differentiate between your fears and God's leading, between your desires and His will. This stillness becomes the environment where revelation flows, and where God can realign your steps without resistance. Relaxing in God is ultimately an act of surrender that acknowledges His authority, His wisdom, and His timing. It is choosing to trust Him not just with your prayers, but with your peace. It is choosing to rest in His promise, even when the process feels slow. It is choosing to believe that what He has ordained for your life will come at the exact moment it is meant to arrive. Through this relaxation, your faith matures, your spirit strengthens, and your heart learns to walk in harmony with God rather than in the exhaustion of self-effort. God often works in realms that human eyes cannot perceive, moving quietly in the background of your life, long before anything becomes visible in the natural. The unseen realm is not empty or inactive. It is full of divine orchestration, spiritual warfare, angelic movement, and precise alignment that prepares the way for what you have prayed for. When it seems like nothing is happening, that is often the exact moment when God is doing the most. He does not wait for your awareness to begin His work. He is already shaping the outcome while you are still asking the question. This invisible activity is intentional, purposeful, and deeply connected to the fulfillment of His promises over your life. Many people lose hope because they measure progress only by what they can see. If nothing changes outwardly, they assume God is not working. But the spiritual realm does not operate by human timing or human visibility. Seeds grow underground long before they break the surface of the soil. Foundations of buildings are laid deep beneath the earth where no one celebrates them. And in the same way, God often establishes the groundwork for your breakthrough in hidden, unseen ways. He aligns conversations you do not hear, opens doors long before you approach them, prepares hearts you have not met, and shifts circumstances you are not aware of. By the time the blessing becomes visible, the majority of the miracle has already happened in the unseen. The invisible work of God is also His way of protecting the process. If everything He was preparing for you became visible too early, the enemy would try to interfere, people would attempt to sabotage it, and your own doubt might overwhelm it. So God hides His work beneath the surface until the time is right. What He conceals, He protects. What He hides, He nurtures. What remains unseen remains untouchable by forces that want to hinder your destiny. This is why many breakthroughs appear suddenly. They are not sudden because they were unplanned. They are sudden because God was preparing them in secret and revealed them only when they were strong enough to stand. In the unseen realm, Angels are often working on your behalf, fighting battles you don't know exist. There are spiritual attacks that never reach you because heaven intervened before they could manifest. There are dangers you never encountered because God redirected your path without your awareness. There are attacks that never touched you because divine protection surrounded you. You may never know the full extent of what God shields you from, but the unseen realm is full of victories you never realized you won. This unseen movement is part of the reason you can walk with confidence even when circumstances appear unchanged. Because God is working beyond what the natural eye can observe. The invisible work of God is also deeply connected to your spiritual growth. While you wait, He is refining your character, strengthening your faith, and preparing your heart to handle the blessing. Sometimes the external situation remains unchanged because the internal work is not yet complete. God is shaping patience, humility, discernment, and resilience within you. These qualities can only develop through time, silence, and trust. The unseen work within your heart is just as important as the unseen work in your circumstances. When both are aligned, God reveals His plan, and the blessing arrives with clarity and strength. Understanding that God works in unseen ways invites you to rest instead of worry. It allows you to walk through seasons of silence without feeling abandoned. It strengthens you to endure delays without believing the promise has been cancelled. It teaches you to trust God even when your senses tell you nothing is moving. Faith was never meant to rely on sight. Faith was meant to trust the God who works behind the scenes, orchestrating details, preparing answers, and arranging blessings that are on their way long before they become visible. Delays in life often feel discouraging, as if God has turned away or forgotten the promises He has made. Yet every delay carries a purpose, a hidden message that we are called to understand through patience and faith. Delays are not denials, they are divine adjustments, moments when God is realigning circumstances, preparing hearts, and shaping destinies to ensure that what arrives is perfect, complete, and unshakable. In the human perspective, waiting can feel frustrating or even unfair, but in God's perspective, every pause is a vital part of the journey, a season of refinement that leads to breakthroughs far greater than we could imagine. When we begin to see delays as divine preparation rather than obstacles, our hearts find peace, and our faith grows stronger. One of the reasons delays occur is because God is preparing you internally to receive externally. Blessings often carry responsibilities, and the soul must be ready to carry what heaven sends. If a promise were fulfilled too soon, it might overwhelm, confuse, or even harm us. God's timing is perfect because He is concerned not only with what we receive, but with how we will respond. Through delays, He strengthens patience, builds resilience, and cultivates wisdom. He allows experiences that shape character, mature faith, and deepen understanding so that when the blessing comes, it is fully appreciated and fully utilized. Every delay, every season of waiting is an intentional step in preparing you for something that aligns perfectly with your destiny. Delays also protect us from the unseen consequences of premature fulfillment. Sometimes what we desire is good, but not yet right for us. God sees what we cannot see: the pitfalls, the challenges, the people who may cause harm, or the circumstances that may disrupt our progress. By controlling the timing, He shields us from situations that might derail our journey. Delays are His way of ensuring that we receive the right thing at the right time. They guard us, direct us, and preserve us until everything aligns with His plan. What may seem frustrating in the moment is actually a protective embrace from a loving God who knows what is best for us. Another important aspect of delays is that they teach dependence on God. When things do not move according to our plans, we are forced to look beyond human effort and place our confidence in divine provision. Delays push us to pray deeper, trust harder, and seek God more earnestly. They shift our focus from the problem to the provider, from anxiety to faith. It is in these seasons that we develop spiritual sensitivity, hearing God's voice more clearly and discerning His direction more accurately. Delays remind us that life is not about speed or timing of our own making, but about alignment with God's perfect plan. Delays are also a demonstration of God's sovereignty over every aspect of life. Nothing happens by accident. Even the things that seem like setbacks are woven into the tapestry of your life with purpose. They are not random. They are part of a divine design that will culminate in a blessing greater than you could orchestrate. Every pause, every setback, every closed door is carefully timed to prepare the stage for something extraordinary. The key is to remain patient, steadfast, and confident, knowing that God is orchestrating events in ways that are far beyond human comprehension. Learning to trust God during delays transforms the way we experience life. Instead of frustration, we experience peace. Instead of despair, we develop hope. Instead of doubt, we cultivate faith. The unseen work of God during delays is shaping your future in ways that you will recognize only when the promise manifests fully. Understanding this allows the heart to relax, the mind to focus on God's goodness, and the spirit to remain anchored even when the natural world seems to be moving slowly. Every delay has a divine purpose, and every waiting season carries a blessing in preparation. Every blessing that is destined for your life carries a divine guarantee that cannot be interrupted by people, circumstances, or time. What is meant for you cannot be stolen, delayed, or redirected, because it has already been written in heaven with your name on it. The enemy may try to discourage you, fear may attempt to paralyze you, and circumstances may appear to conspire against you. But nothing created can override what God has ordained. This truth brings a deep sense of security and peace to the believer who understands that their destiny is not subject to human limitation. No delay, no rejection, no closed door can remove the assignment that God has already marked for you. Often, the greatest challenge we face is trusting that what is meant for us will find its way. The world constantly teaches urgency, competition, and comparison, but divine timing operates on a completely different plane. Someone else receiving their blessing does not prevent yours from arriving. Someone else stepping into opportunity does not diminish what belongs to you. What is meant for you moves with a spiritual momentum that aligns with heaven's schedule, not human observation. Your portion has a unique timing and a unique design that fits only you, and it will arrive exactly as God intends. The assurance that what is meant for you cannot be taken away provides freedom from worry and fear. When we understand that blessings are protected by God, we no longer feel the need to manipulate situations or chase after outcomes desperately. We stop comparing our progress to others, stop rushing into decisions, and stop allowing anxiety to dictate our faith. Instead, we can focus on preparation, growth, and alignment with God's purposes. By living in trust, we cooperate with the divine flow, recognizing that patience and obedience are as much a part of the blessing as the manifestation itself. Even when doors close or circumstances seem unfavorable, it does not mean that what belongs to you has vanished. Closed doors can be a form of divine protection, redirecting you away from what is premature or unsuitable, and guiding you toward the right opportunity that carries your full destiny. God's timing is perfect, and He ensures that when the time comes, your blessing will be fully formed, fully accessible, and fully aligned with your purpose. This understanding allows you to move through life with confidence, knowing that setbacks are temporary, and that every season of waiting is a season of preparation. Faith grows strongest when it trusts what cannot be seen. Your heart is often tested in moments when the promise seems delayed or hidden. Yet these are precisely the moments in which God refines your character, deepens your patience, and strengthens your resolve. Waiting without anxiety, trusting without seeing, and believing without doubt are exercises in faith that position you to receive the fullness of what is meant for you. The spiritual discipline of trusting in God's protection and timing allows you to navigate life with peace, regardless of how the natural circumstances appear. The blessings meant for you are also connected to your growth and purpose. What you receive is not only for your benefit, but for the fulfillment of the calling God has placed on your life. Every moment of preparation, every season of challenge, and every period of waiting is crafting you into a vessel capable of stewarding your destiny responsibly and powerfully. The timing, the circumstances, and even the obstacles are all orchestrated to ensure that what arrives is perfect for your life and your purpose. When you embrace the truth that nothing meant for you can be taken away, your life transforms. Anxiety and fear lose their grip, doubt diminishes, and your faith flourishes. You begin to walk boldly, speak confidently, and act decisively because you know that heaven's plan is in motion. You are not dependent on chance, circumstances, or human approval. Your destiny is secure. The spiritual law is unbreakable. What is meant for you will reach you, and it will arrive at the precise moment designed by God. Understanding this truth allows you to live in peace, walk in confidence, and wait with hope. You no longer need to scramble, worry, or compete. You can focus on preparation, growth, and obedience while the unseen hands of God move everything into position. What is meant for you cannot be stolen, delayed, or destroyed. It is secure, protected, and destined to arrive in full measure.